all used a paintbrush of some kind in our lives, at least I hope so. But have you ever thought about how easy it might be to make a paintbrush or mark-making tool that's as distinctive as you are? We think the first paintbrush was probably created more than 12,000 years ago. The most ancient brushes were made from things like sticks, split palm leaves, or whalebone. It really wasn't until the rise of calligraphy in China that the paintbrush became a much revered tool. The very first brushes were made for writing with ink, but brushes were also used to decorate pottery or to make primitive paintings. The bristles for the brushes came from animals such as hogs, goats, oxen, horses, or even mink. The working characteristics of each type of hair, from stiff to soft, were taken into consideration depending on what the brush might be used for. When we use a brush today, we often choose one based on the medium we're working with. For example, sable brushes are considered to be the best brush to use with watercolors because of how soft the bristles are. Artists using acrylic might prefer a stiffer synthetic bristle, while potters normally employ natural bristled brushes. But wouldn't it be great to create a tool that might make just the type of mark you're looking for? The tools we choose as artists really can have a huge effect on the artwork we make. So to easily make a handmade brush, we first need to gather materials to use for the bristles. Anything could really be a bristle, from fiber, human hair, animal hair, yarn, pine needles, wire, even feathers. We'll also need a handle to attach our bristles to. We could use a dowel rod, a stick from a tree, a bamboo plant stake, or even an upcycled tube from the interior of a ballpoint pen. So we have the bristles and the handle. The last piece we need is a ferrule. And a ferrule is just a metal ring that's used for fastening. I bet you have one at the end of your shoelace. After choosing this handle, I'm going to find a metal tube that will most closely fit the handle. So this bag contains assorted tubes in various metals. We've got brass, copper, silver, and I would say it could supply at least 2 good-sized classes with ferrules for brushes. And in fact, if you end up with leftover parts, check out the lesson plan called Feng Shui Chimes on the Blick website for another great lesson that uses more of the tubes and pieces. The first thing we need to do is bundle our bristle materials together. So I'm using a waxed linen thread, and I really like this thread because the wax helps to grip the hair or fibers so a tight bundle can be made. I've made a few bundles here, pine needles, feathers, some deer hair, and all I'm doing, this is straw from a from a bale of straw, and all I've done is just wrap this wax linen around a few times. You want, a nice thick wrapping. And for a little extra security, once I've tied that off, I'm just going to dip the bottom of my bundle of whatever bristles I have into glue. And I really like Well Bond because it's a strong glue and it works with really any material. So I'm going to set this aside, and while that bundle is drying, I'm going to prepare the handle for my brush. Now I picked a tube and I picked a dowel rod here, and I've discovered that it is a little bit smaller than my tube. So I've wrapped some linen, I think this is the tube I wanted. I wrapped some linen thread around the handle so that it is going to fit more snugly when I put it in the ferrule. So I'm going to use this Well Bond here and just add some glue to this end of the handle. And I'm going to put it in the ferrule. I'm going to twist it a little bit so that glue kind of slides around. And I'm going to go past that bundle of linen cord because I don't want it to show, and that's also making that fit happen. So I'm going to leave about 1 inch at the other end of the ferrule for my bristles to go into. So you want to let this dry, and let it dry overnight or for a few hours, and then I'm just going to drop more glue into this little well that I've left room for here, and this would be dry. Doesn't have to be, I guess, but I'm going to just push the bundle of bristles down into that about inch there that I've left. Again, I put the linen cord down in there so it doesn't show. And as a little added security measure, I'm just going to flatten these tubes. I've got a rubber mallet here, and they're not real hard to flatten. So that also has fanned out my bristle material a little bit into a nice looking brush. So where the ferrule meets the handle is another opportunity for embellishment. You could be wrapped, it'd be wrapped with cord or wax linen or yarn, whatever you'd like to do to embellish your brush. But the most exciting step of brush making is to try out the brush, right? So I've used some plain India ink for this little painting, and the chicken's tail was actually made with feathers, the feather brush. This area that she's scratching in, this interesting mark, was made with this brush, and this is just the mesh bag that onions or oranges come in. So that's been bundled together. Some other marks can be seen over here. I've got a deer hair, a brush. This is the brush, the pine needle brush, and you can see that the marks that left. This is a brush made with raffia, rope, feathers again, wax linen yarn. It's really limitless. For a complete materials list for this lesson plan, please visit dickblick.com.